Good afternoon, everyone. Today we are going to see the second unit in parallel and distributed computing, which is going to cover the topic on parallel processing overview. So, myself, I am Dr. M. Suganya, working as an assistant professor in the Department of Computer Science and Engineering by her. Okay, what is a parallel processing? So, parallel processing is a method that is going to improve the computer system's performance by executing two or more instructions in a simultaneous manner. So, this parallel processing, it can be otherwise described as a class of techniques which can enable a system to achieve the simultaneous data processing task to increase the computational speed of a computer system. And this parallel processing system, it can carry out a simultaneous data processing in order to achieve a faster execution time. So let us consider where while an instruction is going to be processed in an arithmetic logical unit component of the CPU, the next instruction can be read from the memory, which means that when a system is going to run a process, so the opponent system is not going to wait for the system to get the process to be completed. Instead, it is going to be performed with its own job. It need not depend on the other process to get completed. It is going to be independent. And this, the primary purpose of an parallel processing is helpful in enhancing the computer processing capability, and also it helps in increasing the throughput, which means it says the amount of processing which is accomplished during a given interval of time. And this parallel processing system, it can be achieved by having a multiplicity of functional units that can perform either identical or different operations in a simultaneous manner. And this data can be distributed among the various multiple function units. So this can be explained through an example, which we'll be seeing in the next two slides. And so what is the main goal of this parallel processing? So one such goal is it is going to reduce the wall clock time, or the time of real time, that is the amount of real time that it needs to be complete a problem to be solved. So it need not have to wait for a such process to get completed. Instead, it is going to reduce the time in means of the process is going to be separated into multiple process, and the job is going to be shared among the multiple systems, and parallelly it has to be worked on to give out a efficient result with a less timing. So another goal is that it is going to solve the bigger problems which cannot be solved within a limited storage capacity, and this can be made fit into the limited memory of a single CPU. And this parallel processing, it enables any system in order to achieve a simultaneous data processing task and to increase the computational speed of a computer. And this, it helps in ensuring reliability, and it can also maximize the parallel processing by providing the image is going to be shared across the multiple worker queues. That is, the sharing process is going to be done so that parallel job can be allocated. And this can also carry out a simultaneous data processing in order to achieve a faster execution. So if parallelly the work is going to be assigned to the system, then the system can function in a better, efficient, time consuming manner, and it also can work in a faster manner. And this parallel processing, it also enhance the computer processing capability, and also it helps in increasing the throughput. So to explain this parallel processing process, we can see one good example. And this figure, this diagram is going to show the one way of separating a execution unit into 8 such functional units that are going to be operated in parallel. So here the one unit which is going to be, which is a very big unit, is that processor register. This is going to separate the function, separated into 8 functional units. That is a very big problem. It's going to be separated into 8 subdivisions of problems, and it is given to these 8 functional units, that is adder, subtractor, integer multiply, logic unit, shift unit, incrementer, floating point add subtract, and floating point multiply, and as well as floating point divide. So each one of these functional units are going to do its corresponding functionalities, and they are going to provide their result finally to the processor register in order to provide the result to the storing in memory. So here, if you see, the operations are going to be done in a parallel manner. So they are, each one of these functional unit are going to be independently working, and it does not depends upon, or it does not wait for the other unit to complete its process. So whatever the result that you are going to get is from the individually allocated from the data provided to the functional unit, and the result is corresponding to the separate functional units. So the operation that is going to be performed in each functional unit is shown as such, like the adder and the integer multiplier. It is going to perform the arithmetic operations with the given integer values, and this floating point operations are further divided into 3 circuits, that is namely floating point add subtract, floating point multiply, and floating point divide, which is going to be operated in a parallel manner. And the other leftover units are logic unit, shift unit, and incrementer unit operations, which are going to be performed in a concurrently manner on other concurrent manner, while another the number is going to be incremented. And finally, the result is going to be sent back to the processor register, and it is finally stored to the memory. Next, we are going to see with the another topic that is called as the cluster computing. So what is meant by cluster computing? So we have frequently heard on this topic, cluster computing, cloud computing. So what is a cluster computing? It is otherwise called as a high performance computing framework, which is in a form of computing in which a bunch of computers are going to be connected through a local area network. Here we term this bunch of computers in terms of nodes, and they all are going to be combined together and work as a single machine functions. And this computer cluster is a group of linked computers which is going to be worked together closely, so that in many aspects they are going to form a single computer image. And the major objective of this cluster is to utilize the group of processing nodes so as to complete the assigned job in a minimum amount of time by working cooperatively. So if individual processor is going to work on a problem, then it takes separate timing, and it is waste of time, energy, and money. Whereas when multiple systems are going to be combined together, and they are going to divide the problem, and when they are working as in a combined manner parallelly, then you can save your time, money, as well as your energy. That is resource that sources that we are going to use. In such case, and this cluster computing is going to be worked as in a group, and it is going to be parallelly worked and cooperated as of. The main and the important strategy in order to achieve such objective is by transferring the extra loads from the busy nodes to the idle nodes. And this computer cluster, it helps in solving complex operations more efficiently, but with much faster processing speed and better data integrity than a single computer. Computer cluster, it is going to help in solving complex operations more efficiently with much faster processing speed, and it is going to provide a better data integrity than a single computer can work. And they are also not only used for the mission critical applications, it is also used as a combined mainframe computer. So cluster computing is best characterized by the integration of number of off-the-shelf commodity computers, and resources are going to be integrated through the hardware, networks, and software, and it is going to be behave as a single computer. So any computers in a cluster form, it can help in solving complex operations more efficiently with a much faster processing speed. And it takes more, it may be more expensive, but it is difficult to set up and maintain than a single computer, because for a single computer it's easier to handle and maintain, whereas for a combinations of computers are combined as a cluster, if any failure is detected, then the entire setup is going to be rechecked for rectifying the corrections. And similarly, the addition of processors for delivering the large-scale processing is to reduce the downtime and the larger storage capacity. So the problem, how much faster it can resolve, the same as storage capacity, it should have a very huge storage capacity to store the result. Similarly, the applications of cluster computers are nowadays used in many field, like Google search engines, petroleum reservoir simulations, earthquake simulations, and also in the weather forecasting. And so these clustering methods are identified as HPC IaaS and also in HPC PaaS, that are more expensive, and they are difficult to set up and maintain as a single computer. These are the two examples of clustering methods that are used. And these cluster technologies have been developed in order to allow the multiple low-cost computers to work in a coordinated fashion and also to process with the applications. And the computer cluster, it is also defined as the addition of process in order to deliver large-scale processing to reduce the downtime and large storage capacity, which is compared to the other desktop workstations or the computers. And this cluster computing is a growing field in order to link together the inexpensive commodities or computers, and it helps in order to find an answer to many bigger problems. And cluster is a type of a parallel and distributed processing system, and this consists of a collection of interconnected standalone computers which is going to be work together as a single integrated computing resource. And next we are going to see on the types of the clusters. What are the types of the clusters? So there are two types of clusters we are going to see. One is the open cluster and the other is the closed cluster. So when you come to the open cluster, here we find that all nodes in the open cluster are going to be, they are required with an internet protocol, that is IPs, and they are mainly depend on accessible through internet or web, and it costs more security concern. So they are very much protected. Whereas the closed cluster, it is going to be hide behind the gateway node, and it provides better security when compared to the open cluster. And next we are going to see on the types of the cluster computing. There are some 3 types of cluster computing, and the types are discussed here as load balancing clusters, then high availability, in short, which is called as HA cluster, and high performance, which in short is called as HP clusters. So what is a load balancing cluster? So as from the name, you can find out that this system is going to use it is going to be used to distribute the workload across the multiple computers. So when we see in a company sector, one project, if a project is assigned, it cannot be done by an individual. So what does the HR does? He use a project manager. He shares the work among the staffs and with the project team, and he allows the work to be done within a certain time, and the work will be completed and you can produce the result. So in a similar way, here this load balancing cluster, it does the work by distributing the workload across the multiple computers, and this system is going to be distributing the processing load as well as across a cluster of computers, and it distributes the incoming request. That is, what are the requests for or resources that they are needed are also going to be shared, and the content among the multiple nodes that are running the same programs or having the same content. Next, we are going to see on the topic high availability, that is HA cluster. So high availability cluster is the bunches of computers that are reliably utilized for redundant operations in the event of nodes, that is event of node failures in a cluster computing. Next, we are going to see on the high performance cluster. It is otherwise known as the failover cluster. And here the computer networking methodology, which is uses the supercomputers, and cluster computing is going to solve the advanced computation problems. So this is going to be designed in order to provide uninterrupted availability of data or services to the end user community. And this can be used to implement the database, mail, file print, web application services, etc. Next, we see on the topic of components of cluster computing. What are some of the components of cluster computer? Here we come across high performance computer. Here, this high performance computer, it can be PCs, that is computers, workstations, and SMP. And these nodes are generally have a memory, input output facilities, as well as an operating system. Next component is the modern operating system. So here the operating system should be layered or microkernel based, and the typical OS is going to be used in clusters like Linux, kernel, Solaris, and Windows NT. And the next component is the high-speed network switches. So here it is going to interconnect as gigabit Ethernet, ATM, etc., which are going to be suitable, and high performance switches are used in order to provide a better connection. And next is the network interface hardware. And here we see it is generally using various NICs, which is acting as a interface between the network. Next is the communication software. So this is going to include various fast communication protocols and services like FM and AM, which is going to be used for speedy communication between the nodes. So in radio stations, we can find these kind of communication softwares as a cluster component. And next, we are seeing the component cluster middleware. So it is basically aim and provide to give SSI and SAI services to the user, and this includes hardware like DSM, memory channel, etc., And for the operating system kernels, it is also called as the gluing layer. And some of the kernels that are used here is Solaris, MC, and GL, Unix, etc. And the applications and subsystems are used here are like software DSM, file system management tools, and RMS software, etc. Next, we are going to see the component of parallel programming environment and tools. And these are tools that are going to provide a portable, efficient, and easy to use the tools in order to work in parallel environment and run the applications simultaneously. And a very good example of this parallel programming environment tool is the PVM and MPI. Next is the applications. So when we come to the applications of cluster computer, it is a sequential as well as parallel applications are provided, and it can be run on a cluster manner. Next, we are going to see on the advantages of cluster computing. Why do you go for this cluster computing? So here are some advantages which helps in deciding to choose the cluster computing. What are those? Yes. So first advantage is the cost efficiency. So in a cluster computing, the cost efficiency is going to be the ratio of cost to the output. That is the connecting the group of the computer as a computer cluster, and it is found to be much cheaper as compared to the mainframe computers. And next category is the processing speed. So the processing speed of a computer in a cluster, it is going to be same as compared to the mainframe system. Next is the expandability. So the best benefit of a cluster computing is going to be that it can be expanded easily by adding the additional desktop workstations to the system. Next advantage is the high availability of resources. If any node that is going to fail in a cluster computer, then another node within the cluster, it can continue with the process in order to provide an uninterrupted processing. And when a mainframe system it's going to get failure, then the entire system it also acts to fail. And for the advantage on performance, it is an added benefit for the cluster computing in means of performance. That is, we say that it comes with an existence of a single system image and the ease of manageability of the cluster. So multiple systems, when they are combined together, they are going to act as a mainframe. They are going to replace a mainframe system. So the performance wise, it is going to be the same as a mainframe, what the result it can provide. Next advantage is the flexibility. So it is well suited to any such software in order to function. And next advantage is the scalability. So a cluster is going to use the combined processing power of compute nodes and to provide the cluster enabled applications. And next advantage is the availability, and this is going to be within the cluster, and it is assured as a node within the cluster, and it provides a backup to each other in the event of a failure. Next, we are going to see on the topic underlying technologies. So what are these underlying technologies? When we have come across many technologies in the current generation. So what are some of the underlying technologies that we have come across? One best answer is that the internet. So we can recollect this internet that is used in various types of interconnected networks that are comprising of the internal solution, like local area network, uh, wide area network, and some examples like Ethernet, token ring, wireless, and FDDI ring, etc. So they are going to give you point-to-point solution, that is through network connection, that is WAN, and this is going to connect the devices and public network line. For example, telephone is using such kind of point-to-point wide area network. It is going to cover, and here this is going to be act as a it is going to use the data link layer, whereas for a telephone company, this it is going to use with the physical layer. And next, it uses the modem and DSL, which is a modem and a DSL, that is a digital subscriber line. This is nothing but a set of technologies which is used in order to provide the high speed data. And some of the DSLs that are example that are types of the DSLs are RADSL, which is nothing but rate adaptive digital subscriber line. UADSL, that is a universal adaptive digital subscriber line. HDSL, that is a high bit rate digital subscriber line. And SDSL, which is a symmetric digital subscriber line. And a VDSL, which is named as very big rate digital subscriber line. And this DSL is going to provide a service that is over the copper wires, and that cannot be provided between the central office and local residences or businesses without the expensive repeaters. And for the underlying technologies, and we will see with some of the types of the underlying technologies. So parallel and the distributed simulation is going to be made possible by the confluence of three underlying technologies. One of such is the integrated circuits. The next is the high-speed intercomputer communications, and the third is the modeling and simulation. So when we come to the integrated circuits, the first key ingredient, key ingredient is going to be an inexpensive computer, and this is going to make the systems composed of tens, hundreds, and even thousands of computers are economically going to be made feasible. And the fundamental to this development are going to be steadily decreased by cost of integrated circuits, and this is going to be driven largely by an increasing ability to squeeze more and more circuits onto a single silicon chip. And a good example for this integrated circuits is that the cost of the random access memory, that is called as RAM, which is going to account for a significant portion of the cost of a personal computer or a workstation, which is going to run over the long term, and it is going to be decreased by 40% of its cost by every year. And next is the high-speed intercomputer communications. There are two flavors of technology work is done here. One is that high-speed switches are going to be enabled initially to construct the systems containing tens to hundreds or even thousands of processors that can reside within a single cabinet or a computer room. Whereas the another one is the advances in the fiber optics technology, which is going to be fueling a revolution in the telecommunications industry. And this is going to be made possible in computing systems distributed across the continents. And these advances can help one to consider developing computer applications that are utilized in many geographically distributed missions. Next underlying technology is the modeling and simulation. So for the modeling and simulation, the final ingredient which is added to the technologies is to enable the construction of models of actual or envisioned real world system that can be either represented in the internal storage of a computer, and otherwise it can be manipulated by computer programs to emulate the evolution of the actual system over the time. So we are going to be primarily concerned with the discrete event simulation, where the changes in the state of the simulations are going to be viewed as occurring at distinct points in time. Thank you.